Hey everyone, welcome back to the Road Trip Flip. I'm Andy, and we are here with, of course, the Road Trip Flip himself, Marvin. And Marvin, you have another story today. This one's called "Plight of the Valkyrie." Where'd the where'd the title of that come from?
Okay, so it was the very first road trip that I took when I started this whole idea, the very first one, and the story behind the name. If you if you look at it two different ways, if I were to just read off the title, if I were reading the plight of the Valkyrie, or if I used a different voice, the plight of the Valkyrie.
So wait, when you was this when you did this, did you know this was going to be the start of something, or this just now retrospectively turns out to have been the beginning of the whole Road Trip Flip?
No, this goes back to pre-COVID, and I had already thought about this.
Got it. Okay.
This was already in its infancy, and it was the very beginning, and I was collecting content, filming videos, pictures, all that stuff, and just stuck it in the vault.
But this story though of the Valkyrie is or the original flip itself.
It's the very first one
Okay.
of this whole iteration. What we are now, what I'm doing now, this was the first one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. This is really exciting. So, okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know how much context there was to this. So,
Yeah.
all right.
So if you look at the title, the plight of the Valkyrie, it's obviously a play on words, and it really comes from there's a German composer, Richard Wagner.
Wagner. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So he composed actually it's the Ride of the Valkyries. But
Right.
everybody knows it as the flight.
The flight of the Valkyrie. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Everyone thinks that's what it's called,
it's
right?
officially called the Ride of the Valkyries. And so there's a couple of things that are entwined in this is that it was used in a movie, Apocalypse Now, which some people may or may not know this. It was filmed in the Philippines. And so obviously it was a war movie about Vietnam. And that particular song, that music piece, was in a scene where there's a whole sky full of Army Hueys, single engine Hueys, converging on this one point. All of them had 50 caliber machine guns and missiles. One of them had a surfboard. So there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of little things that pertain to me as a person. Love the movie. But again, it was filmed in the Philippines. So if you can imagine the character or the actor, Robert Duvall, he's on the beach there, shirtless with his cavalry hat on. But if you can imagine it was a Filipino actor. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. It smells like victory. So that's what I envisioned, but would it really happen? Probably not. But, we can only dream. So having that in my mind, it was just total random that I get a text from our buddy Bob.
Mm-hmm. I love Bob.
Bob, yeah. And so he just sends me a text, and it's a picture of a motorcycle. Just so happens to be the Valkyrie, and I recognize it. And I really didn't pay attention, but there were two other bikes in the background. And so I text him back, and I go, Bob, interesting bike. They're unique. What's this all about? And he texts back, do you want it? And I go, well, I'm not in the market for these kinds of bikes because, I'm a Harley guy. And at the time, and this was like over 5 years ago or so, I wasn't a Honda guy. I am now because you look at our last episode. But I wasn't necessarily thinking about a Valkyrie. And so he says, no, do you want it? And I go, what do you mean want it? And I, instead of, carrying on by text, I called him and I go, what do you mean? And he goes, well, so I have this listing in Scottsdale. The owner is a hoarder and he has 3 bikes in his backyard that he's not going to take with him to the East Coast. He's moving. I'm selling his house. So I go, well, so is he going to give them away? Is he selling them? What's happening? And he goes, no, he's giving them away.
Hold on. You don't know that. Yeah, Bob told me about this house. he told me about this listing. This is back in 2020?
Scottsdale. Yeah.
Is it 2020 or
Yeah.
21? Okay.
It was yeah, it was right before COVID. I
Right.
think.
He told me about this place, and because we were just chit chatting and we're
Yeah.
just like, catching up or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I've got this listing. There's stuff everywhere.
Oh, I have video of the house.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't
Okay.
send it to you, so
So
maybe I should send it.
I did not know that the Valkyrie story came from that listing.
Yes.
Okay. I knew Bob was involved, right? I didn't know that part. I didn't know it was from his listing though, because he had told me about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh
Okay.
wait. Oh, okay. So
That's funny.
I didn't send you the video of walking through the house because it was bad. It was
Oh.
disgusting. The bathroom sink was disconnected, and it was rusty. And then underneath it, I don't know if they were still using it, but it was like it was horrible.
So
Yeah.
so the guy's moving to the East Coast,
He's moving to the East
and
Coast.
then he's offering you these bikes to just come and have them.
But so this is what he told Bob. He said, "I'm moving. I'm leaving. The house is as it is. I'm not taking anything with me. I'm just out of here." So Bob calls or texts me and says, "Hey, there's 3 bikes in the backyard. You interested?"
No way.
Yeah, yeah. I got them for free. The guy says, "I'm out," and there was also a BMW car in the backyard. So as Bob's telling me the story, we're talking by phone, and he says, "Yeah, he's not taking anything with him." And so I asked Bob, would he sign them over to me if he's walking away from it? And I said, "I'll ask him." So the guy he talked to the guy, the owner of the house, and he actually said, "Yes, I'll sign them over. I have titles for 2 of them, but I'll give a bill of sale for the 3rd one that doesn't have a title because I just lost it, and I'm not going to look through it in this mess." So I got the go ahead for 3 bikes. So, fast forward, what I did was, obviously we call it the plight of the Valkyrie because these things were abandoned in his backyard.
It's a funny play on words.
It is because they were destined for death, a long, painful death just sitting in the Arizona
Well,
sun.
they're either going to get junked, or someone like you is going to come along and like see the gem that it could be and go, oh, okay, I can take that and make something of it.
Yeah,
But
and-
it has to be someone who knows that they're there, and then is there in the same window of time, and then is going to take them off that guy's hands. But
Yeah, and eventually I met the guy that bought the house, and he didn't want anything to do with them. He was going to flip the house. But when you see the videos of the house itself in the backyard, it was pretty bad. I mean, it was disgusting. I can't even describe in words how bad it was. I mean, the sight, the smell, all of it, all the way around. Good thing that we're in the backyard. I didn't have to deal with the garage. So getting into the backyard, there was actually a gate, a big open gate where I could back the truck in. So what I did was I worked it out with Bob. I brought the Suburban. It had towing capability, and I rented a U-Haul, took the Valkyrie home. And I made 2 trips out of it. So I took the Valkyrie home first, and then I made arrangements to come back a couple weeks later. And with that second trip, I actually got in touch with an old friend, Jim. And Jim is I knew Jim from the Navy. We were on the USS Niagara Falls together. He was a bosun's mate, and he kind of looks like Sam Elliott. He had a big. I think it was almost out of regulation. He had this big old, handlebar mustache or walrus type. It was huge, and anyway, he's such a great guy. Him and his wife, Virgie, she's Filipina, and when I knew him in Guam when we were stationed there, I only knew him in uniform, and we didn't hang out together at all. We were just aboard ship because I was a guest on the Niagara Falls. Well, fast forward, I think it was about 15 years, and I'm selling motorcycles in Phoenix when I'm going to the Motorcycle Mechanics Institute, and this is like around year 2000 or so. And I'm on the floor, and one of the other salesmen walks up to me, and he says, "Hey, were you in the Navy?" And I didn't tell anybody. I was at a trade school. I didn't tell anybody what I did. And I go, "Yeah, I'm actually technically still am. I'm a reservist." And he goes, "Well, that guy over there says he knows you. He thinks he knows you." And I look over there, and there's a guy with long hair and a full complement of facial hair. I kind of didn't recognize him, and I'm staring at him, and I'm going, Boats? He's a bosun's mate, so that was his nickname. And then there was a guy next to him. He was a little shorter, and I thought the guy was Mexican. Turned out to be his son, because his wife is Filipina, and he looked kind of like his henchman. And Chris, he's kind of like my younger brother. Good dude. He was also very mechanically inclined, like his dad, but he was going to MMI too with me. I didn't know we were students together there. So it was 15 years since I had last seen him. And when our whole time in Phoenix, it was like they adopted us. We had a toddler, she was only a year old. And we were over there, maybe every other weekend or so, just visiting, hanging. They're like family, typical island style, right? I had actually brought the Valkyrie home, parked it, and went back to go get the other two. So it just so happened that one of them was a Honda Shadow. They were both 1998 versions. The Valkyrie was a 98, and the Honda Shadow was a 98. The Honda Shadow was actually in better shape than the Valkyrie, but it didn't have a title, and I didn't want to have to go through the process of
Rebuilding the title,
rebuilding the title in Phoenix,
yeah,
from San Diego,
and then it's going to become a California vehicle anyways, and
yeah. But I did have a legitimate bill of sale signed by the previous owner, and so it was all legit. It's just I didn't want to. It was a hassle.
Yeah, it's fussy.
So Jim's next door neighbor had. I mean, the lots in Phoenix are pretty nice. They both had, I think, like half-acre lots, and the guy next door was a motorcycle guy, Harley guy, but he was talking to Jim about the bike, and he ended up buying it from me. I gave him a deal on it, so that was the first part of the flip. And he had an easy way to rebuild the title right there in Phoenix. And the last time the bikes were titled was, or at least registered, I think one of the plates said 2003.
Oh my gosh!
So it was a 98. Both were 98s. They were last registered in 2003. So what? 5 years.
Yeah.
And then left for dead.
So 17 years had passed all
Roughly.
the way till 2020 when you entered the scene.
Roughly. And when you look at the pictures of the bikes, they were in rough cosmetic shape.
Right.
There was a third bike, Goldwing, and I think it was like a 1982 Goldwing. I think it was a naked version of the Goldwing, and somebody had tacked on a bunch of like saddlebags, backrest, fairing. I looked at the wiring, and some of the wiring was real janky. It was just kind of cobbled together.
Yeah.
And they weren't in good shape from being exposed to the sun as well. So when I went back, I kind of stripped all that stuff off and just got rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was just useless to me. I was so this concept comes up. I was going to make a scrambler out of it.
Yeah.
That's what I initially thought.
Again, right?
Yeah.
Or not again, but this would have been would this have been your first attempt at trying to make a scrambler?
Yes.
Okay, because you had told me that story about wanting to make a scrambler before, but that was a second or third attempt.
Yes.
So this was the original scrambler.
This was one of the original ones. Yeah, and it's
hey, one of these days, Marvin.
Someday it'll make an episode.
Someday.
Yeah, I just wasn't feeling it with the older Goldwing, the 82, and the Shadow was gone because I sold it to Jim's next door neighbor. But when I finally got home from the second trip, the Valkyrie, it was time to roll up my sleeves and get it running. So what I did was, just out of curiosity, I make sure that the transmission had fluid in it, the radiator had fluid in it, and then I put some gas in the tank, and I went and bought a brand new battery. I didn't change anything else, because when you think about it, it was in Scottsdale, it was in Phoenix,
Right.
It's dry.
Right. You're not worried about rust and
No.
corrosion and
Yeah.
things like that. Just mostly sun damage and those, those rubber and plastic bits where they are.
Oh,
that are
yeah,
gonna-
yeah. And, when you look back at the pictures of when they were sitting in the backyard, the seats were like so sun...
Like they were real brittle.
No, well, they were worn away. You could see the cushion.
So
Oh yeah,
so the cover wasn't even there.
some of it was still there, but they were just tattered.
Yeah, I
So
can imagine.
I'm thinking, okay, the carburetors are probably dry. They probably have some crust in them, but I'm just curious to see if it would start up. So I put gas in the tank. I looked in the tank. The tank was actually okay.
Yeah, but how old's the gas in there?
There wasn't hardly any gas in
I
it.
was gonna say, okay, so if the registered
Yeah,
tag says 2003, you're there in 2020.
it was actually
That
dry.
okay.
It was actually dry. It was probably dusty in there, but like I said, I was super curious, and I hadn't watched all the Will It Run videos that we have today.
Yeah.
Um, I just thought, well, okay, I'll just take a chance on it. And if it lights off, I'll shut it down. So put a brand new battery in it, put gas in it. All the fluids were good. Turned the red knob on to run. Hit the starter button. I mean, I was ecstatic. It lit off.
What?
First push,
Just fired up?
it lit off.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I let it run for like 10, 15 seconds and then shut it down. I go, okay, this was a good move.
So wait, did the guy ever share with you, or did you ever know when the last time they'd run was?
Not really.
I mean, I know
no.
the tags give you some time reference for last time they were on the road, right? I know people ride bikes with the road with tags,
Right. So yeah, you have to consider this. I never had access to the guy. The guy just wanted to get out of town.
Sure.
Bob, while Bob's a smart guy, but he's not a car or motorcycle guy, so he could only extract so much information third party because I didn't want to keep peppering Bob. Bob's doing me a huge favor by hooking me up with 3 free motorcycles.
Man.
So yeah, I would answer your question. I really didn't have any history on them other than I had 2 titles for the Goldwing and the Valkyrie.
But how stoked were you that it fired up right away?
Oh my goodness, it was huge because then I started, typical real estate agent, right? I ran what we call the comps, the comparable sales of Valkyries, like we do for houses, and they were anywhere between $3,000 to $8,000.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
And you just got it for free.
and I got one for free. Well, okay, so the cost of renting a U-Haul trailer
Well, yeah, okay,
twice.
yeah, but you had no acquisition cost. Yes, I understand there's cost to do what you did to bring it back and all that,
Yeah.
but I'm saying, okay, fine, you got a battery, you put some fuel in it, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
you're not into it for 1,000 or 2,000
I
bucks.
didn't spend a whole lot of money.
Wow, that's amazing.
And even the time element, going there twice, the benefit of I got to visit Bob, I got to visit Jim and Virgie.
Well, and you're going to Arizona. It's not like you're crossing the entire country.
It's
to
not
go
that
do
far.
This.
Yeah.
From San Diego to Arizona is like a little half-day trip.
5 hours,
Yeah,
roughly.
You're not going to Virginia or whatever.
No, I mean, yeah, granted, it was hot, but so what? It was worth it.
Yeah.
It was so worth it twice. And so, I mean, when I got them home, let me take that back. When I got it running, I realized, okay, now I've got some work ahead of me. So what I did was pulled the tank off, cleaned it out, and then, I forgot to tell you, when I got it running the first time, for the first 10, 15 seconds, it was leaking out of the one of the carburetors. So what the story is with those is because it's a horizontally opposed 6-cylinder engine, just like a Porsche.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Which is normally called a flat 6, right?
flat 6,
Yeah.
correct. And so the beauty of the Valkyrie, and the reason why I was mostly interested in just the Valkyrie, was it sounds just like a Porsche.
That's
And
so
it
rad.
sounds like a Formula One race car.
Yeah.
And the
that's
guy
rad.
had put, I think, aftermarket mufflers on it, so
Oh, jeez.
it had a beautiful exhaust note. So it was a kind of a big bike, and eventually when I got it running, I mean, the thing was quick. But you think about it, it's 1,500 cc's. It had a short stroke crank on it, so the rev limit on it was a lot higher. It didn't ride like a Harley at all. And in fact, at 1,500 cc's with 6 cylinders, the pistons are about the size of Dixie
Yeah,
cups.
so they're pretty.
They're small.
Yeah.
They're small. And so it's pretty high revving, big bike. And it was so fun to ride. But after that first startup, though, going back a bit, I had to rebuild the carburetors, 6 of them.
All 6 of them?
Yeah, and I mean, my knuckles have just healed from that just
All
recently.
these years later.
Oh my goodness! So not only did I had to rebuild them, I had to rebuild them once. I did it twice.
Yeah.
Because it started leaking again. I'm not sure exactly why, but the kickstand on most motorcycles is on the left-hand side, and that thing was parked on the left side. I mean,
Right.
so the
Yeah,
left
it's leaning.
the left bank of the carbs, the 3 on that left side, those were the worst ones.
Yeah.
Because it was holding gas
Yeah.
for the most part.
For years.
It pools.
Yeah.
So when I opened them up, yeah, they were pretty bad. I mean, it was pretty crusty inside each bowl. But got them torn apart, got them rebuilt, put them back together, did my best to synchronize them. And, when you have a 6-cylinder engine versus, like, say, a 2-cylinder, if one of them's off, the other 5 compensate. But luckily, in one of my other flips, I bought a Honda CB 750 at some point after that, or near that time frame. I got a synchronizer, which it's like 4 gauges, and you hook them up to the carburetors, and you see the vacuum. And I know it's a little technical, but you can actually tune the car. I learned how to tune carburetors, which I didn't know how to. I mean, I kind of had an idea, but never practiced.
Yeah. Never dabbled in it, really?
No.
Yeah.
And then, let alone with 6 of them.
Yeah.
And so, now I'm like, the running joke is, I'm on a low carb diet because 6 is just too much.
Wah, wah. Low carb diet. Car jokes, dad jokes, nutrition, and food.
Yeah.
Got
So anyway, yeah. And then I've actually kept the bike for a while. I kept it for, like, I don't know, close to 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, within that first year, it started leaking again. So I had to literally pull them out again.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's going to have stuff, man. You said this is a bike from, what, 95, you said?
It's a 98.
Sorry, 98.
98.
Oh, yeah, it was registered for 5 years. Got it.
Yeah.
So, all right, so it's, what, 22 years old at this point?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's got some stuff, man.
But, I mean, it's a Goldwing engine. And and also it's a Honda.
Yeah.
So they're built really well.
Oh, yeah, no, they're going to last. I'm just saying that anything that's 22 years old in automotive space, stuff starts to need to be replaced, needs to have maintenance done to it.
Yeah.
You have to do the upkeep stuff.
Yeah.
And especially if it's been sitting forever, it's definitely going to need some of that stuff. And it's just kind of par for the course, if you will.
That's for sure. And so I changed tires, all the fluids again, fork seals. The leather on the seats was just tattered and torn. So I went and bought an electric turkey carving knife, and I actually pulled all the stuff off and reshaped the seat, and bought myself some. I lowered the seat height because it's a big bike and it's actually pretty wide, so I lose inseam by having to straddle this thing that's
Right.
like a horse.
Yeah, the same width as you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was able to lower the seat height by reshaping the seats, and then recovered them. Went to the fabric store, bought some pleather, and got a staple gun and just redid it. It was an easy. It wasn't. I'm not an upholsterer.
Right.
But it was good enough. Yeah. And then what else did I do to it? I really didn't have to do much more except clean it up.
Yeah.
Some of the clear coat was coming off. Wasn't too bad.
Yeah. And then, so do you end up selling it, or where did it go? What
I did.
How did it change
Eventually,
hands
like
again?
a year and a half, 2 years later, I sold it to a gentleman by the name of Pierce, who coincidentally he was looking specifically for a Honda, and he previously had, he still had it, but it wasn't running, a Honda Shadow.
Mm.
And it was yellow, just like mine.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was kind of an upgrade for him, but he was intent on buying another yellow bike, and he wanted a Honda. And when he saw this one, it was like kind of like when Fernando bought the GL 500.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I hardly had to pour on the salesmanship because it kind of sold itself.
Well, did Pierce show up with flip flops and shorts too, or no?
No. He showed up ready to ride.
Ready to ride. Give it a shot around the corner.
Oh, for sure.
Around the block.
Yeah, and then this one I hadn't thought about it, but I didn't write at the time because it was the first one. I didn't write the ad
The ad, yeah.
like I did with
The other one,
the silver one.
If you don't know what Marvin's talking about, go back and watch that episode where Fernando basically bought this off of an ad that Marvin was just, I'll say, being excessively creative in, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm buying that bike."
Yeah, he didn't even bother reading the ad.
Yeah, I don't think he cares. He's like, "I see the bike. That's the bike I want." Dude shows up in shorts and flip flops. Like, yeah, you can click on the link right there. You can go jump to that video and check that one out.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so he bought it and he's still riding it, and we're
that's
you know
great.
we joined up on Instagram. And Pierce, if you're watching this, this is all about you. So it's your bike. I hope you're enjoying the bike, by the way. So yeah, he's still riding it. He's riding it all over the country.
That's great.
And he got lucky too, because that thing had low. I don't think it had, when I sold it, was it under 10,000 miles? They had it for 5 years. They didn't, maybe 16. I can't remember. But
Either way, I mean, both numbers, even if it's a 16,000, that's not that much.
Because those Goldwing engines are good for, well over 100,000 easily without a rebuild. But yeah, another happy customer.
Well, that's cool. I mean, and it's kind of the origin of the whole road trip flip. So that's neat too. And I love that Bob was at the epicenter of this a little bit, or not a little bit, is in having the listing and having the. I just can't believe that the guy would just walk away from everything. I mean, I get it with the way you tell the story, but to me, I guess I'm not that person. So I would not maybe as easily separate from something like 3 motorcycles and a BMW in the back.
Right.
But I guess if I'm also looking at, hey, that's a lot more work that I'm willing to do right now in my life, maybe that's worth parting with.
He was an older gentleman, as far as I understand, and he just wanted to get out of Dodge.
I get that. I understand.
So
I understand. That's really cool.
Yeah. Another quick story about the Goldwing that I sold. I sold it locally, and you'll see the pictures in the video. I sold it to a gentleman by the name of, oh my goodness, Joel. That's what his name was. Good dude. And Joel, if you're watching this, I never asked, did you do anything with it? Because I sold it to him for $100 with
$100.
$100 with a title.
That was supposed to be your scrambler.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, but I mean, look at the pictures. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Sold it to him for $100 and with a title, which is key, for anybody buying an old, parts bike.
Yeah.
But it was complete. So, Joel, if you're watching, send me a message or leave a comment. I would love to hear if you've done anything with it.
So we can't end the episode without you talking about your shirt that you're wearing today, Marvin. You're wearing the official The Road Trip Flip shirt, front and back Road Trip Flip. So tell us, where can people find this if they want one?
So the link is in the description for sure.
Okay.
Or if you want to go to theroadtripflip.com, you can find it there.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we don't have much in the way of inventory, but it's just a start. So if you want to help support the channel.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you were telling me before, like, this is kind of like a limited run right now.
Correct.
Let's get this on some people. Let's start telling them about the Road Trip Flip. So you are in the beginning. So what's interesting, and this was definitely not on purpose. I chose my Triple F collection shirt today to wear. So
Nice.
my friends out in Ohio, and this was one of their original shirts when they had started their collection all these years ago. So
Nice.
I knew coming in today, I'm going to wear one of my car shirts. And then we're also announcing the launch of yours as well.
So we'll hook you up with one too, so you can you can tell the story.
Officially on the team.
Yeah, there you go. I knew the flip when he was the flip.
Before he was flipping cars and he was just the flip.
Right.
Well, Marvin, that's really cool, man. What a cool title for this show. But also, I just love all the interconnectedness that just seems to follow you everywhere you go, or even lead the way, I should say, in some regard as well. So that's really cool, and I love that you're able to get these other bikes to people who can really admire them, use them as intended, and this is one of those common themes where when you're buying a van or a car or a motorcycle, you're on the receiving end of someone saying, "Hey, I want this to go to the next great place." Yeah. And then you're on the sending side of that too. And I think that's really cool because you kind of bridge both sides of that experience every time. I really like that.
Yeah. When I sold it to Pierce, the Valkyrie, I made sure I left some room there for him because, like I said, like a real estate agent, I priced it accordingly so it would sell. And it's not my intention to gouge anybody. So I was happy to sell it at the lower end of the scale of what the comps were, if you will. So yeah, another happy customer. I'd like to think, at least.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Marvin, for coming by the studio again and telling this great story, the plight of the Valkyrie. And I'm looking forward to your next road trip flip.
Thank you. Hey, folks, thanks for watching this far, and I appreciate your time. Hey, quick question for you. Before we sign off, leave a comment below. Let me know where you're from. I know a lot of you, you're already my friends locally, but if you're new to the channel, let me know where you're from. Tell me a story about where you bought a vehicle and flipped it and you kind of regretted getting rid of it. Kind of like me with this Valkyrie. Wish I still had it, but it's got a happy home right now. And last question, if you remember to answer this one, tell me who's your favorite Filipino, whether it's a nurse or a famous boxer or a comedian or me. So that being said, leave a comment, and thank you for watching. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, please, and leave a comment. Till then, see you on the flip side.